as I said, the victim has only two ways. The first is a very difficult way, which is to get rid of this terrorist spy, who makes himself the secretary of the victim, the spy, the hidden guard, or his agent. It means getting rid of him by killing him or replacing this fraudulent thief with people he trusts from the countries of my brothers America and Israel and Europe and their friends, so that this spy ends completely and does not return. And then the agent becomes a good thing, then this organization becomes a nightmare, or this hell will turn into a real paradise. But this is very difficult for the victim. As for the other way, as I said, trying to escape from them by knowing their laws and avoiding falling into these traps. Of course, the other problem is these gangs do not abide. I mean, for example, in the district of Afaq, they made all friends, and everyone I resort to with them is also my family and relatives. They are supposed to stay like this, but when I establish new relationships with new friends, the gang makes those also with it, and the same game is repeated. I mean, the gang was supposed to abide by the laws they invented, which is to make the house of my family and all relatives, friends and neighbors with them. But when I cut ties with these people and look for new relationships, I will find that the gang also came to them and the same scenario repeats, the same nightmare. There is no difference at all. Also the same financial blockade, the same homosexuals. Also, no one takes words or orders, also the continuation of brainwaves control, which the gang claims the reason for its survival is violations by the victim. I mean, when the victim goes to them and eats and drinks or dwells or takes some money or talks or takes some old clothes even etc. Here the gang claims that he works with them and gives a pretext to continue controlling the brain, which half of them use. The problem is that this issue is similar to the case of slavery and servitude. This organization has no party to punish them, because their work is secret and they are the ones who tamper with the law they had. They are the Church of the Gospel in Iraq, which has concluded agreements with Iran, Turkey and China. It thinks itself that it has immunity and no one is punishing them, or holding them accountable for their dirty laws like this one, and it is not hidden at all, but rather a fraud. I mean, for example, you go to visit a person and tell him that you are a victim of brain control. Then you may sit in his house or ask him for something. But then you find yourself that you went back to them by violating their laws, which is eating and drinking, and he came to us. Do not take any words at all, but the cow is much better than them, at least, it may carry out some orders, but these do nothing with them. The inventor of these dirty laws is like him. He is the one who leads these gangs and tries to exploit the victim's body, and he is not a friend at all. A fraudulent thief plays with what he wants only. He also adopts a mind-reading program to control the brain, and this completely destroys the victim's brain. More about this. The first advice is to replace this hidden secretary or the hidden guard. If the victim succeeds in this, he will actually become a person who has power and money and has people who carry out his orders. He can eliminate his enemy very easily. All he has to do is replace the secretary and change all the laws that he was working on. Have this. This hidden secretary is a swindler. He is the one who sits on the position and owns the money and property, as well as all the elements who lead them. He is the one who gives the positions. I mean, those who claim to be followers of the victim are the ones who lead them, not the victim. Of course, he will refuse this hidden secretary. But if he refuses, this indicates that he is the holder of the position and not a secretary. This is in the victim's interest as well. He will escape from this organization in which he has nothing. But if he succeeds and changes this invisible secretary, he will win. Of course, the survival of this invisible secretary is the end of the victim. I mean, he is trying to impose a war on the victim, and he is not a party to it at all, and he has nothing to do with it. It is a good thing for a person to defend something he owns. But he cannot defend something he has no control over. Here in this advice, points will be put on the letters. Either the victim is a person who has a position and has a secretariat loyal to him whose orders are executed or reveal the game, and everyone knows that the victim is nothing but just a scapegoat. No one recognizes him and does not take words or orders from him. And all the lies were from this hidden secretary, as he was using his body and spying on him. Of course, this hidden secretary did not help any of the scapegoat's victims at all. I read many stories of stupid victims who believed and started looking for followers, and they thought that they would lead them, but they all lost because these followers turn into an enemy at lightning speed. Also, they do not obey any orders from the victim. Rather, the enemy is among them and they know this. The victim has to be in a constant position and decide to expel this hidden secretary in order to know the truth. If this hidden secretary refuses, then he is the holder of the position and not a secretary. But if he stays away, this is a good thing. I mean, the victim can appoint a new, different secretariat loyal to him. As for the situation continuing as it is this is completely against the victim merit. Adult rivalry against homosexuals. This is one of the tricks of the invisible secretary. These homosexuals are the elements that claim that the victim is a manager. I mean, every person who claims to have followed the victim, there are elements of these with him, and they are either his son or a brother, or he brings a homosexual person with him. Also, the competition against the victim is a deception because the victim has nothing. Nobody can compete with it. This is what will be revealed by the test for expulsion of the hidden secretary. If this hidden secretary refuses, then he is a fraudulent liar, depends on it, and trusts her.